Good morning everyone. So it's about 8:20. All my housemates are sleeping, so I'm gonna stay quiet because it's summer holidays now technically for us. I say summer holidays, we're gonna graduate, we've all finished uni, so yeah, I have to keep quiet. So as you can see from the title, I'm going to be doing a video on applying for assistant psychologist jobs, and I thought it would be kind of good to show you what I do like every day to kind of help with that. So the first thing I do when I wake up is obviously read my Bible and stuff and do my own bits, but then the first actual thing that I do is go onto the NHS website. So it's jobs.nhs.uk and type in assistant psychologist, and I don't put any of the filters on because I find if you do that sometimes it loses what you want, so I just let all of them come up because there's not that many. Like there's normally like 5 pages, which is quite easy to scroll through, and then I just scroll through, look for the ones in London and see what ones I can apply for. And you'll see what I mean by the filters not really working, because even though I've typed in assistant psychologist, normal fully qualified clinical psychologist post will come up still. Yeah, so I've actually applied for 3 over the past couple of weeks and haven't heard from anyone yet, but saying hopeful. They all seem like quite a good fit for me, but anyway, it just looks like this. So I just scroll through, so there have been 95 jobs found, and then I just look for the ones in London really. Oh, here we go, Barking and Dagenham. I think I might have applied for this, so I normally just open it up. There we go, so that's what I see, but I can tell already that I've already applied for this job because I recognise the job reference number. However, I'll just talk you through like what I kind of look for. So I obviously look at the location. I normally type that into Google Maps to see if it is like a viable option for me to apply for this job, because even though it says London, it might actually be on the outskirts of London, and driving to that every day will take so long because of traffic and things. So I'm aiming for about a ideally 30-minute drive or an hour commute. I don't mind commuting on the train for an hour because that's more reliable than the car. I'll probably go through tips later on in the video, but you do need to be quite open with what you're applying for because it's so competitive. I then also look at whether it's a permanent position, if it's, I can't think of the word, like if it's a contracted position where it's like only 6 months, because I personally want a year's long job. Obviously I look at the salary. Most assistant psychologist posts are between 21 and 23k a year, but I doubt most people who've just graduated will get that 23 mark because of experience and things like that. And if you scroll below, if you then scroll down, this bit here, so you see this bit's kind of in a grey font, this here is in black, and the black font is what they're looking for, and it's kind of like a little description. So what you want to do is quickly read through that and obviously see if you've got experience that could make you an actual fighting candidate. If you don't have any experience clinically or as a volunteer or in the health sector, then you are going to struggle, and you probably, I don't know if there'd be any point in you applying, I'm not going to lie to you, so maybe focus more on getting experience. But again, that will come more in my tips. Once you've done that and you're like, yes, this is for me, it's a great location, whatever, you want to look at the job description and person specification, because on the NHS website, you don't give them your CV. None of the ones that I've applied for, you've had to. It's always like an application form. Now, it's really long because of that. However, when you create your NHS job profile, you put in your CV manually and it saves, so that is obviously good. So it has all of your work experience and stuff already there for you every time. All you need to do is in your, I think it's called a personal statement, or in your additional information or something, it's called something like that, you'll know it when you see it. It literally says in the bit before, make sure you look at the person specification and the job description and kind of use that to say why you're good for this job. And that's why it's really important to read the job description and the person's specification. Cannot even stress that enough. I don't really know how this has turned into a vlog style video because I was planning on sitting down and explaining this properly, but I thought this is what I would do every morning, is look through the website, open them up and start applying. Find the job description over here, so it's right at the top, and it downloads as a PDF. I'm not going to show you that because that's pretty explanatory, but I'll be back when I'm ready and go through some more tips and tricks. I think I'm quite confident with it now because I've done it a couple of times, and also when I was on placement I spoke to loads of actual paid assistant psychologists who really helped me, and also my supervisor and stuff, so I'm fairly confident with what I know. put some makeup on, and now I'm ready to apply to this assistant psychologist post which just came up. What I'm doing is reading through the person specification and the person description, and I make notes on what I need to include in my personal statement thing. I do have like previous applications saved onto my laptop, so I tend to just use that as a basis and then just reword it and make it a better fit for the job and add in all of the extra things that they are asking for that the other job might not have been asking for. So I'm not using the same application. You should not do that. They can see through that straight away. So just write down everything that needs to be mentioned in your little supporting information. I can't remember what it's called. It's called supporting information. And yeah, make sure you include the things that they are asking for, and don't just kind of list it off like a checklist. I know this sounds kind of stupid, but you want to kind of show how your previous experience has helped you meet these criteria. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to continue with my tips for applying to assistant psychologist posts. I'm going to start off with the things you can do before actually applying, which is stuff like getting your experience, which is so important, and I'm hoping this video kind of gets to people who are in their second year of uni maybe, as well as people who are actually graduating, because if you're in second year of uni and want to get an assistant psychologist post, get experience. This is the biggest thing. So it doesn't matter if it's not like an honorary assistant psychologist post, even stuff like volunteering as a befriender for charities like Alzheimer's Society, anything in the care sector really, anything like working in a care home, especially a care home for people with like mental health issues, or with people with dementia or learning disabilities. Working as a PA for a person with learning disability is something that I also do, and through that experience you are going to increase the likelihood of you being able to apply for assistant psychologist posts. So that's literally just applying, because a lot of the things on the person's specification is experience working with vulnerable people. So even if you aren't working as an assistant psychologist or clinically, you still have that experience of working with vulnerable people if you are working in a care home, for example. So definitely get experience. I won't go into what I've done, but if you guys want a video on what experience I have and why, then, and how I kind of got into it, then comment down below. Moving on, you need to apply to everything. Once you get to the application stages, once you've graduated, I would just apply to everything and anything. I do want to work in the NHS, however I have been searching for private assistant psychologist posts because I want a job after uni. I've already worked in the NHS, so I don't really need to do it for experience. I know how the NHS works, however I like the ethics of it and I'm all for the NHS, so I do want to support that and work for them. But like I said, I'm not fussy, and you shouldn't be either. These posts are so competitive, like ridiculously competitive. For example, I was applying to a post a couple of weeks back, and to be fair, it was for quite a competitive role. The salary was high and it was for Great Ormond Street Hospital, so I understand why they had such a high volume of applicants. However, it was posted and I saw the time when it was posted and it said a couple of hours ago, and I applied. Actually, no, it wasn't even a couple of hours ago. I woke up really early, so it was like first thing in the morning, hadn't been up for long. My application took me about 45 minutes, I'd say. The application closed in the time that I was doing that. So as I hit apply, it said, sorry, we've had too many applicants, we've closed this vacancy. That's how competitive it is, guys. That's the reality of it. So you need to get in there and just apply for everything, right? Now, saying that, you also need to set some boundaries for yourself, as in what you're comfortable working with and where, I think, are the two main things. For me, I've set like location boundary of an hour's public transport commute, so by train or whatever, and then a half an hour drive. And that's mainly because with the drive, obviously that doesn't include traffic in the morning. Like when I used to do my placement, my drive was an hour, but then because of traffic it would take me an hour and a half up to 2 hours some mornings, so definitely take that into account. With the train, however, a bit different. I'm happy to sit for an hour on a train, that's cool. Again, with the location thing, you need to be very flexible. You can't just say I want to work in London, because I'm sorry, that's just it will either take you forever to find a job or it just will not happen due to the demand. And also assistant psychologist posts aren't as frequently available as you may think, so just be open but also set your boundaries. You also need to work out whether you would be comfortable with working in very high risk situations. Going into clinical psychology, you do need to be ready for that. However, if you're just not ready right now as an assistant to do that, then you need to properly think about what you are comfortable in doing. So maybe you aren't comfortable working with kids, maybe that's just something that you're not comfortable in doing, and that's completely fine. Or maybe you aren't comfortable with working with people who have severe urgent care situations where you are putting yourself in a situation where you could get physically harmed. So just to be aware of that as well. So now that you've kind of set your boundaries and got your experience, when you're actually applying for the positions, like I said earlier on in the video, you will have a personal statement section, and this is where you need to shine, because they know people have experience. They know there are thousands of people who have tried their hardest to get as much experience as possible. So what's really going to make you stand out is showing how your experience will be beneficial to their team. So you need to go through the person's specification point by point, okay, and look at it and map onto your skill set and your experience what you can check off the list. You need to think of it kind of like an exam, and the person specification and the person description as a marking criteria. So when you read back your personal statement, you want to be able to say, okay, check, she's a good communicator, or check, she knows how to resolve conflict. So definitely really dive into the person's specification. Don't just ignore it, and if you're not ready to do that, then don't apply for the job, because it is just a wasted application, to be honest. So when you do apply, make sure you're in the right headspace and that you're ready to concentrate for a good, like, I'd say an hour if you want to make sure it's good. Because when you think about it, so many people are going to be applying, so you want to make it your best work. And I'm telling you now, this is not a joke. It is so competitive, and I found this out when I was on my placement. All of the assistant psychologists said they applied to so many positions and before they found the one that they were at. So make sure you're taking it seriously, and I know you guys probably are, but before my placement I didn't realise how competitive it was. I want to be that person for you. Also, I find that waking up early in the morning to look for jobs is the best, because if a job is posted at 9 AM, you have time to apply for it, and then if they have too many applicants, they do just close it. Sometimes it's at 50 applicants, sometimes it's at 100. It really depends on the job and the place. You want to be able to apply for it, you know, you don't want it to just be because you applied too late that you couldn't even stand a chance. I hope I'm making sense here. In terms of, oh, there goes my pen. In terms of when you should apply, I haven't graduated yet. I graduate in about a month's time. However, I am finished with uni. I honestly don't know the answer to this. You need to think that most of these jobs are kind of immediate start situations. They're not grad schemes. So I feel like applying around a month or 2 months before you actually think you could start working. So making sure that you have your graduate membership to the BPS, which is what you need to work as an assistant psychologist. Making sure that you will have that by the time you have to start the job, I think, is the main thing. However, do not quote me on this. Again, speaking from other assistant psychologists who I had worked with, that's kind of what they did. And also I haven't had any emails from people saying, sorry, you can't apply. So that's always good. If you are due to graduate in the summer, then I'd say just start applying now. You may as well, especially if you have the experience. The worst thing that could happen is that they email you saying, sorry, you need to have graduated already. Also, just going back to the graduate membership for the BPS, that just comes along with your psychology degree. The majority of psychology degrees in the UK are BPS accredited. If they're not, then you do have to do like a conversion course later on, or like an extra bit. However, most psychology degrees are BPS accredited, so don't you worry about that. Although maybe you should worry, maybe just double check, but I think you'd know. In terms of grades and applying for assistant psychologist posts, they ask for an upper 2-1 or a 2-1, around that kind of area. Obviously, you want to try hardest to get first because you want to be the best of the bunch. You want to be able to be the best out of your experience and the best out of your grades. If there are two people with the same amount of experience, they'll probably go with the person who's got the high grade, right? It makes sense. You don't need a master's to get an assistant psychologist post, and you don't need a master's to do the doctorate in clinical psychology. That's why I'm not doing one. I don't think I'm going to do one because I don't want to spend that money when I don't need to. They seem to be more interested in your experience, and why would I spend money when I could just make money and then also improve my chances of getting onto the doctorate, you know? Don't worry about a master's if you don't want to do one. If you do want to do one, go for it. Like, education is great for you. I kind of wish I wanted to do a master's and had the money to do a master's, because obviously it's another year of uni, another year of student life, but I guess it's just not in my plan personally. It's, I think, a big misconception that you need a master's to do the doctorate. Now, I think that is everything that I can think of. I didn't really make much of a plan, so I hope this was helpful for some people out there. If you do have any questions, please put it down below and I will try and help. Obviously, I haven't got an assistant psychologist post yet, so it's kind of like the blind leading the blind, but I have spoken to a lot of people who are assistant psychologists and saw a lot of what other people have done to get assistant psychologist posts, so I think I have a good knowledge, and like in practice I've applied to 3 already. Haven't heard back, but pray for your girl here. Staying hopeful. I know if it's meant to be, then it will be. And don't stress out, guys. Don't feel disheartened if you get rejected or if applications close. It's just the reality of it, and you need to think it's not meant to be. If you don't get a post, it's just not meant to be. Get applying, get that experience, and just stay positive throughout, because you will get there if you try hard enough. So until next time, guys, I'll see you later.